Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and the 2025 Pokemon World Championships recently wrapped up, or I guess recently-ish. It's been a little bit of time, though. It's just been like a week or two. And so they wrapped up, and we saw the Pokemon TCG World Championship, and the deck that won was Gardevoir EX in the Masters Division. And so I figured today was the perfect time to take a look at past World Championship winning decks because they're really interesting to see kind of how they evolve over time. And I'm actually going to start newer and work my way older here with the 10 most recent World Championships, including this past year's. Though I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I imagine you're familiar with it. Though I will talk about it some and some of the design things. Obviously, one deck isn't representative of the entire meta. I mean, it can be, it's not necessarily. And also, I'm familiar with some of these formats more than others. Also, there's some weird stuff that we're going to talk about here today. But yeah, I think we're going all the way back to like 2012 or 2013. Again, there's some weird stuff, so we'll get to that at some point. Also, speaking of older formats, I do want to mention that on my community tab, I am working on a video which is going to hopefully happen. Not sure. I want to be a collaboration video. But anyways, I will need some older cards from the Wizards of the Coast era, not like actual cards, but cards that are good. So if you could check that out, you could like comment down what your favorite cards or most iconic cards or whatever best cards from that era are. That'd be useful because, as I said, need it for a video. Also, while you're there, make sure you like, subscribe. But anyways, let's hop right into things here with the most recent winning deck here. This is the World Championships 2025. Gonna just look at the Masters division. The seniors and juniors are like similar enough. I'm not super familiar with the differences in older years, but again, this year it's pretty similar. And yeah, the metagame, I mean, it's the standard metagame right now. So, Gardevoir won this year. And yes, Gardevoir, right? You have Gardevoir EX to accelerate a bunch of energy onto your board. And then you have Munkidor to, you accelerate energy, or I don't know if accelerate damage, but you put damage on your own board, you move it off with the Munkidor to your opponent's board to do more damage. And then from there, also able to get the energy to attack with your various different Pokemon. This deck is kind of interesting. Gardevoir EX is very, very strong. I saw a video. I didn't actually watch it. I'm not gonna lie. So sorry to whoever created it, but I saw a thumbnail. I think just looking through my YouTube statistics because people watched it, and it was like, how is Gardevoir still how does it keep surviving rotation? Well, Gardevoir EX is like super good. We're not going to take a look at it again. We'll take a look at actually a different Gardevoir card, but Gardevoir has been good since its time in Standard, in various different ways because its ability is super strong. But again, not too much to talk about here. That hasn't already been said, right? So moving on to last year's 2024, we have a very different deck here. I will say, looking at the metagame, we see a lot of basic and stage 1 decks. Charizard's a stage 2 deck. We also see Gardevoir here. But then, I guess technically Archeops is a stage 2. Wait, I think this deck also plays a stage 2. But most of those are like not regular stage 2s. So most of them are basics or stage 1s. And so that's pretty different than standard right now. And the winning deck was actually a very unique deck, which was Iron Thorns EX. Iron Thorns EX is a card still in standard, but it's not as strong. Its ability initialization says if it's in the active, you ability lock all rule box Pokemon in play outside of itself and other future Pokemon, which doesn't really matter that much. It's mostly there so it doesn't like have weird interactions and like mirrors. But anyways, it's a card that has a very strong ability. Its attack is very mediocre. I'm not going to dive into it because it is just so mediocre. You can pay for it and you have energies to do that, and you have some damage boost, and of course you have Gust to potentially stall Pokemon, but also to go and chase knockouts and stuff like that. We also see a lot of energy disruption on top of the ability disruption, so it's a very, I guess, countery deck. Because when you look at the meta, you see again there are some basic decks. These basic decks play stuff like Squawkabilly EX for a very aggressive draw engine, sometimes aggressive stuff like Pheasant EX is also here, which is not as aggressive, but is a card that is very important to the engine. And just like in standard, I mean, this isn't that long ago, but just like in standard, it's mostly rule box Pokemon, and a lot of them have abilities that are very important. So yeah, this card's a very strong counter to it. Definitely I don't know if an interesting deck's the right word, because it only plays one Pokemon, 4 copies of this one card here, but a pretty unique one. And it's what's called, I think, a quad deck is what people generally refer to it as. There might be some other names for this type of deck, but yeah, pretty straightforward, but very strong here. And a counter deck, which we'll see I think a few of in this video. Oh yeah, and so 2022, we actually see a what? I think I'm missing a year. What year am I missing? I'm missing last year, aren't I? 2024. No, 2023. Yeah, so 2023, the winning deck was Mew VMAX. Not sure how I missed one. Uh, I guess we're not covering that one. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, there we go. You can watch me learn how to count. But anyways, the winning deck in 2023 was VMAX. The second place deck was Gardevoir. I was like, I thought Gardevoir was recent-ish coming second. Anyways, Mew VMAX, Gardevoir, and Lawstone are the decks here. And we see that Mew VMAX here is a very strong deck. This is an all-time great deck, in my opinion. In my opinion, Mew VMAX is not the most important card in the deck. The most important card in the deck by far, in my opinion, is Genesect V, which its ability allows you to draw until you have as many cards in hand as you have Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. If you've been keeping up with my channel, or even just the Pokemon TCG in general, then you've heard about, potentially, if you've kept up with future cards or cards in Japan, then you've heard of the Stadium Mystery Garden, which is similar. You discard a Psychic, draw until you have as many cards in hand as Psychic Pokemon in play. But this works with Fusion Strike Pokemon, which are all or most of your Pokemon. Here it is all of them. And so you can draw up to 5 or 6 cards in hand or whatever every single turn of the game. And also you can use as many Genesect Vs as you have, which could be 4. So you could draw like 24 cards theoretically. That's not really likely, but it's not super hard to do either because we see a lot of items in the list you can just thin or thin other cards with. And it's very aggressive here. And then your attack does 210 damage, and you copy this with Mew VMAX for 2 colors on stage 1. And so, or sorry, a VMAX, which is a 3 prizer. It's kind of like a stage 1 Mega EX. It's a little different, but not that different. And so this allows you to copy Genesect V's attack, or other attacks. You have Meloetta and Oricorio. Oricorio you wouldn't use to attack with. Mew V you would use for some utility. Not going to dive into it, but it can do that. But anyways, Mew VMAX is very efficient here as a 1 energy attacker, and, well, kind of 1 energy attacker, and also a card that does solid damage, has utility, and obviously has a strong draw engine. And then you have other, like, you have some disruptive cards here. You have some obviously like explosive draw cards as well on top of Genesect V. So it's a very, very crazy deck here. Very powerful. Was like really strong in the metagame, I believe, until it rotated, unless it fell off a little near the end. I don't remember, but it was very, very good. Then we have the next deck. This was in 2022. This is Arceus V-Star, and in this metagame, there was Palkia, Mew VMAX, which we just talked about, and Arceus V-Star. And in my opinion, this is one of the most interesting World Championship decks we'll talk about today. I guess. I feel like as we get older, they get more interesting because they're less familiar to people. But Arceus V-Star here has an attack that accelerates energy to your board. Not going to go over each card in this deck too much because there's a bunch of moving pieces, but its attack accelerates and does damage, so it's solid there all around. And then its ability also searches for cards once during the game. It's a pretty strong ability. Then we have Flying Pikachu VMAX. This was originally a meme when it came out because it wasn't very good. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty niche. It counters basics and also counters lightning weak Pokemon. But the other Pokemon in the game that were good were lightning weak or like basics. So it was very good. It didn't count everything, but it counted a lot of good things. Then we also see Hisuian Decidueye V-Star. This doesn't really matter what it does. It does damage in its fighting type, so it's another weakness hitter like Flying Pikachu VMAX here. Then we see Bibarel, which is a stage 1 here, letting you just draw till 5. A very solid draw engine. I've talked a lot about in Standard right now how the draw engines are kind of mediocre. Bibarel is an example of, in my opinion, a stronger draw engine. The draw engines in Standard aren't terrible, but like Enzoric EX, I'd say, is maybe one of the best ones. Noctowl is also very strong, but they have situational aspects to them. We also see draw on basic Pokemon, Crobat V, or I guess draw / setup on basic Pokemon. Lumineon V and Crobat V have powerful setup abilities on play. Setup as in like they can get you cards. They could be good early game, they could be good late game. They're just very, very strong cards. And also the Stadium Path to the Peak, which was also in Mew VMAX. I didn't talk about it there, but it turns off ability. Well, it's like Iron Thorns EX. Turns off abilities of Rulebox Pokemon. This is so strong. It was really strong, obviously, with Iron Thorns EX. This card rotated, then Iron Thorns could see play, but this, before Iron Thorns rotated, was a very meta-defining card, and honestly, one of the best stadiums ever. I don't know if it's the best stadium ever, but I know it's very, very close to that. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm blanking on something, I know there's, what is it, like the Forces Aren't Plants and Broken Time Space Stadiums, which are very good, but they're also, I don't know, they're pretty different, but anyways, definitely a pretty interesting deck there. Very like somewhat countery. Then of course after 2022 we move on to 2019, and no, this is not me forgetting how to count like I did earlier in the video. This is me This is because of a certain thing that I think I can talk about on YouTube, but I don't know. So I won't. And yeah, so there weren't World Championships for 2 years in 2020 and 2021. If we look at Limitless, it says 2020 was canceled, and then obviously 2021 was, I guess, also canceled. I don't know. But anyways, so those didn't happen. There are other tournaments, so comment down below if you want to see me talk about those. I have talked about them in the past. There are some tournaments which are like kind of equivalent, but ultimately they're not the World Championships, and they didn't happen. So I am skipping them here. And 2019 here is the year that the last season, full season before the break, and so then we have the winning deck here. This is also a really cool deck. This is also one of my all-time favorite decks, I guess, focused around Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX. This is a tag team, another three prizer like Mew VMAX or Flying Pikachu VMAX, but this one's a basic hero, and its attack doesn't matter. It only has one attack. You can only use it once per in the game. It's not meaningless, but it's not the most meaningful thing either. But the ability here is very meaningful, allowing you to copy Pokemon EX and GX from your bench or discard pile. You still need the energy to use their attacks, though. Unlike Regidrago V-Star, which didn't win the World Championships, but was very good, that just needed a certain attack cost. Same thing with Slowking, I guess, in standard. That's not so good. There's got to be a better example. But anyways, Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX here could copy GXs and EXs, but this is uppercase EXs, which are not the ones in standard or the old ones. These are like the middle ones. So they weren't in the game. It doesn't matter, but did want to clarify that for if you're playing like expanded or something. But then you have the GXs, and there are two different like types, I guess, of GXs. There are the tag teams. We see just one, Reshiram and Charizard here, with some solid attacks. This is, I think, the main attacker in the deck, or main Pokemon you're copying. Oh, kind of like VMAX as well. They are both copying Pokemon. And then you see two prizes GXs, because this is a three prizer, which again, all the three prizers were basics. Oh, also this is a three prizer. But anyways, then you have some two prizers. You got like Solgaleo GX, you got Naganadel GX, and you can copy Evolution GXs here, like stage ones and stage twos, in your discard pile, without needing to evolve them, which is super good. Having them on your bench is like, okay, they can be liabilities, but you could power them up. There are reasons to play some of them. I guess, like Jirachi GX, you'd play for its ability just to protect you. But then ultimately, it gave you so many options. This is a true toolbox deck. It's not really a counter deck. It's not like it has all these different options to counter certain specific decks. It's more so a deck that has all these options to like do different things throughout the course of the game. Unlike the Arceus V-Star deck, where you'd be choosing certain attackers in certain games. This one you want to just get them all in the discard and just have all these different options every single turn, so your opponent can't stop them all, which is very, very fun. Not going to go over the individual attackers, really. There's some like snipe and walling and stuff, but overall, a very, very fun deck here. Then we're going to move on to the 2018 World Championships here. I'm worried that I miscounted again. Wait, 25, I think I counted right. Anyways, but then we have 2018 here with Robin Schultz, which shout out to Robin Schultz, the creator of Limitless. Limitless is like a super awesome website. This isn't like sponsored, but I mean, it's the website I'm using. It's very, very useful. I use it in like every video. And yeah, Robin Schultz is a world championship winner, world champion. Anyways, with the card Zoroark GX, this may look familiar. Has essentially the same ability. It's the same ability unless you're doing something really wacky. Called Trade here on Zoroark GX, not N Zoroark EX, but again, it was reprinted there. Discard a card, draw two. You can also, for 2 colors, do 20 future Pokemon in play. This is solid. At the time, it was decent. This is definitely, I think, the first really full example of like power creep, or I guess like anti-power creep, right? Because we're going backwards in time. Yes, power levels have increased a little bit from the tag team era, but not that much. I mean, you can look at, Mewtwo and Mew had 270 HP. You look at the tag teams, 270 is like fine. I'd say the HPs have increased a little bit, but I don't think it's that much. So, yeah, Zoroark GX, though, is definitely a lot weaker than cards in standard. Like, N Zoroark EX just has a bunch more HP, and they're pretty comparable. But anyways, you have a very strong attacker here. You have double colorless energy. I didn't mention double turbo with other stuff. I think I forgot. But anyways, yeah, it's 2 energy. It's very meaningful here. You just attack for 1 energy attachment, and then you also have Garbodor. Garbodor is very strong. You have Garbodor with Trash Lanche. This is has the attack which does damage based on items in your opponent's discard. It does 20 for each. I will also say at this time, tools were considered items, which is like somewhat meaningful. That's why we see Field Blower, which discards items from your opponent, or tools from your opponent's board, which are items to increase damage. Then we also see the Pokemon, the other Garbodor, which is was actually like reprinted, or no, like pseudo reprinted with the ability Garbotoxin, which says that if you have a tool attached to it, then all Pokemon to play have no abilities. And again, ability lock super good here. Another reason why you have Field Blower though is because if you attach a tool to Garbodor, you don't have any abilities. So that's like can be bad. It can be good to ability lock your opponent, but it can be bad to ability lock yourself. So you can turn it off during your turn, and then you can turn it back on using another tool, right? And then we see tools like Float Stone to reduce retreat cost, Choice Band to increase damage. We see supporters like N, which is like Iono. This is, it's an older era, so the trainers are going to be more different than the ones in standard. Oh, I didn't talk about Welder with Mewtwo and Mew. Yeah, this one had the supporter Welder, kind of like Professor Saw's Vitality, which accelerates fire here, and then you draw cards. But yeah, I believe this was because this was before. This is like this. What am I saying? This is the first deck we took a look at that was before the Sword and Shield era when we got Research and Boss. But it's a very unique supporter lineup. So this list here is now the first one we've taken a look at that has a relatively normal supporter lineup with supporters you're less likely to be familiar with. Guzma's like Boss, and it's like Iono. Cynthia's like, I don't know, Lily's Determination or Research. I mean, Professor Sycamore is like it's the same as Research. Regardless, you see supporters that are a little different but kind of similar as well. Then we see Puzzle of Time. This card's actually banned and expanded. This card's kind of nutty, allowing you to recover any 2 cards from your discard if you play 2 Puzzle of Times at the same time, or do one and then just like rearrange the top 3 cards of your deck, which is like bad. But it's very strong when played 2 copies of it. And then I don't know, there's more stuff to talk about as with all of these lists. So comment down below if there's a certain deck or certain area you want me to dive more into. But this deck is definitely very different than, I don't know if very different than standard. It has similarities in the things it's doing, like some disruption, moderately versatile attackers, but mostly straightforward game plan as well. But then, the numbers are very different here. Then we look back at 2017 here with Gardevoir GX. Yeah, this ain't Gardevoir EX. This is Gardevoir GX with a similar ability that's worse, allowing you to attach a Fairy Energy. What's Fairy type? I don't know. But it says you can attach a Fairy Energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. It's only 1 energy. It's from hand, so it's like way worse than Gardevoir EX, which is as much energy as you want from the discard. Although it does damage you, but it's like not that big of a deal. Or good, right? In standard, it can be good. But then you have Infinite Force. It does 30 for each energy attached. Oh no, it does 30 for each energy attached to both actives. And then it does this based on energy, not energy cards. So you have double colorless, which is 2 energies there. And then you have a GX attack as well, which lets you shuffle 10 cards and you discard back into your deck. And GX attacks are really interesting at this time. Mewtwo Mew does have a wide variety of interesting GX attacks, which some cards were mostly there for GX attacks. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't know if there are any in here just for GX attacks in this list, but at some versions of Mewtwo Mew there were. Oh yeah, I guess this one was. And then you also have in this deck you have the Kartana GX to just take a prize with the GX attack. Here though, you have the GX attack to recover. So GX attacks are definitely pretty interesting. I don't think any of these decks truly do GX attacks justice, but they are definitely a cool thing. There are also V-Star powers. V-Star powers were there's a few that were a lot stronger, so people mostly use those. I just skipped them. We do see Octillery as well, pretty much the same as Bibarel, but still very good here. Then we also see Gallade. This is kind of cool with a split evolution line, which we saw with Garbodor. I think that was the only other one. I could be forgetting one. But we see Gallade here, which lets you look at the top 5 cards and reorder them. Also, you can do 130 for 2 colorless here on stage 2 if you play a supporter, which probably are playing a supporter there. We also see Hex Maniac, a supporter. This card is also banned and expanded, but it ability locks all Pokemon in play and also in hand and discard. And this allows you to, ability lock your opponent when you want. You do ability lock yourself, but you can just use your abilities before. Maybe it does depend. We also see Alolan Vulpix, a very interesting setup Pokemon here. Searching for Pokemon for free. Searching for 2 Pokemon. I said 4 as in FOR. Anyways, sorry, my brain's kind of fried right now. But yeah, definitely a really interesting Pokemon that we don't really see too much of in standard. We don't see too many setup attacks. We see Joltik, right? We see Joltik, we see Cleffa, I guess. But generally these set of attacks aren't so good. Also, sorry if there is background noise. I hear background noise outside, so hopefully you can't hear it. But again, we see this supporter lineup, Sycamore, which is like research, pretty much the same. There's actually a rule you can't play both in the same deck. And the same as Iono, Guzma, or pretty much the same as Iono, Guzma, pretty much the same as Boss, Bridget, kind of like Brock Scouting or something, Acerilla like Turos. So again, you see the supporters that are very similar to older ones, but not quite the same. And you see cards that are the same, like Super Rod, Rare Candy, and Ultra Ball. We also do see Versus Seeker to recover a supporter from your discard into your hand. A very, very strong item here. That it's just very good. Then we also are moving on to the, or moving back to the EX era of capital EXs. Yeah, they're different. They are all basics. Well, they're not all basics. I was gonna say the basics are all basics. That's like a horrible explanation. They're all basic except for the megas, which are kind of like stage ones. And the winning deck here was Mega Audino EX. This is a deck I'm not super familiar with, but I know it was a bit of a surprise, a bit of a rogue deck. Because it allowed you to, I don't know, I'm actually not sure exactly why it was super strong, but it's a card here that it's again functionally stage one, and we can see the HP levels are pretty low, compared to standard. But it says if you play a supporter from your hand this turn, you do 110, 50 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon as well. So very solid there. Don't apply weakness and resistance because you're hitting that all the time, I'm sure. But then you see Shaman EX as well. This is a crazy Pokemon. This one's also been expanded, by the way. Lets you draw till you have 6 cards in hand when you play it. It's like Crobat V, which I just kind of glossed over earlier because it was okay. But Shaman EX you can use multiple times, and you can scoop it up with AZ, so you can just use it over and over again here. Also, Megas, I didn't say what they do because these are different than the new Megas. These are 2 prizers, but they end your turn when you play them, unless you have the Spirit Link tool attached, which then they don't. So you just attach the tool then. They don't end your turn. We also see in this list, we see some like metal stuff and some pretty cool Pokemon. Then we do see Parallel City as well. This stadium is terrible. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like this card, mostly because like you can't even read it. Like what is this? But anyways, it says it's a stadium where you choose which way it faces, and it does different things both ways, or different things depending which side is facing you, which is kind of weird because that's not really how stadiums are supposed to work. But anyways, it's a stadium that you play, and the one way it like doesn't really do much. It like reduces damage by a little, but that doesn't really matter. But then the other way, it shrinks your bench down to 3. That is brutal, right? Shrinking your bench down to 3 is really rough, or it can be good if you want to get rid of Pokemon on your bench that have damage on them or that they're just liabilities. So it's really interesting here for just different use cases. So we see that as a very strong stadium as well, just like Path was very strong. We also see, speaking of Path, Hex Maniac more ability lock. We see Disruption here as well. Startling Megaphone is like Tool Scrapper. Zerosic is like I don't know, it gets rid of a tool or special energy. So it's like kind of like Enhanced Hammer or something. We see Mega Turbo as well, which is energy acceleration. Nothing crazy there, but still kind of fun. Then let's move on though to 2015 because this deck is interesting. Again, tell me if you want more info on any of these decks. I'd love to make a full video on one of these formats. But 2015, we see still in the Capital EX era. We will be in the Capital EX era for this entire video. But we see a really interesting deck here, which is a Blastoise deck. Blastoise, if you're not familiar, just accelerates as much water energy from your hand as you want. And then you pair this with Keldeo EX to do 20 more for each energy attached to it. And you can also switch into the active whenever. You also have Articuno, which is a sketchy attacker at 20. You flip 3 coins, 40 more for each heads, but you have this ancient trait, which is called Delta Plus. If you take a knockout with this Pokemon, you take an extra prize. Then we see Mewtwo EX, another solid attacker. Whirlwind EX, like super high HP for the time. In standard, this would still be pretty high in current standard, but at the time it was like really high. I mean, Keldeo EX is fine with 170 here. Shaman EX has 110, Jirachi is 90, right? So this is a very big difference. But anyways, you may notice that there are no Squirtles or Wartortles in this list, though, because you have the supporter Archie's Ace in the Hole. This is one of my all-time favorite supporters, allowing you to put a water Pokemon from your discard onto your bench, then draw 5 cards. This allows you to skip the previous evolutions. It is really fun and also like kind of sketchy, but really funny. But you need a lot of ways to support it. So you have the really powerful item card here, Battle Compressor, letting you search your deck for any 3 cards and discard them, allowing you to discard Archie's in the Hole to get back with Versus Seeker, discard the Blastoise, discard Waters to get with Superior Energy Retrieval as well, which is, if you're familiar with Standard, you're probably familiar with this card. If you're familiar with Chien-Pao Excalibur, this is very similar, but it's still similar to other things. And then we also see that it plays Execute as well, a really cool card in my opinion, allowing you to put it back into your hand at any point if it's in the discard pile, which is really nice. It says one string a turn, but that's a lie. I mean, it's like, it's technically true, but then it gets reset as soon as you do it, so it doesn't matter. And it's a really unique deck here with a very combo-oriented gameplay, which is very unique. Really, the other decks don't really have that at all. Like Gardevoir, for example, kind of sort of has it. I mean, you need like Gardevoir EX, you need an attacker and stuff, but this is a true combo-y deck. It's not the most combo-y deck we've ever seen. It's not like if you pull off the combo, you win, but you need to pull off the combo to start playing, and it requires a bunch of pieces. It's very doable, but it is very interesting. Also, we're back in the A-Spec era. I didn't say that, but we are. Then we're coming to the last one here, which is the 2014 World Championships. This one here features the amazing deck Virgin, which is Virizion Genesect, Virizion EX, or Virizion EX. Allows you to accelerate energy when you attack. It's kind of like Joltik, I guess. That's a bad comparison. It's closer to the Arceus V-Star we saw earlier. Then Genesect DX here, when you attach a Plasma Energy, which is just a special energy that's colorless, but it's called Plasma Energy, and then you can gust one of your opponent's Pokemon. That's very good. Your attack here, 100 for 3 and 20 snipe is like okay, but then you have the attack here, G Booster, which is an A-Spec here. It's an A-Spec tool. It's a Pokemon specific A-Spec tool. I don't think we really have Pokemon specific A-Specs in standard, unless I'm forgetting something. But there are a bunch of these, and this one was good. Oh, what is this? Okay, this is not translated, or this is not like written right in Limitless. But anyways, it allows you to do 200 for 3, and then you discard 2 energy attached to it, and it hits through effects as well. It's very strong here. You can also recover it with the Shadow Triad, and this works with the Team Plasma package, I guess. The Team Plasma package was like okay. But this deck doesn't take advantage of it amazingly, but it does somewhat. You have the plasma energies and stuff. So overall, a fun little deck here, which is, I'd say, relatively straightforward, just basics, doing as much damage as you can, taking knockouts, some combo aspects. But anyways, tell me down below in the comment section if you want to see me talk about older decks, because I talked about the 10 most recent. I think I really want to make sure I didn't miscount, because we talked about 25, 24, 23, 22, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. There we go. I did it. I can count. But yeah, 2013, I guess I'll give a quick rundown of the other ones I didn't talk about. 2013 is Darkrai EX, another capital EX, which is, again, pretty similar to Virizion Genesect at a very basic level. Then we also see this deck. Wait, did Darkrai win back-to-back? Let's see. Yeah, okay. Apparently it won back-to-back. So we got Darkrai in 2012 as well, and with Mewtwo EX as well. And this is, again, just like basics, doing damage and stuff. Then we have, in 2011, we've got ourselves, I thought there was more than this. I'm not going to lie. Maybe, oh, and there's also 2010. 2011, we see that this is a different deck. This is, you accelerate energies, you do damage based on like the energies, kind of. So we've seen decks like this, kind of like Blastoise. This one's pretty different. I would not mind talking about this at some point, but not in today's video. And then the last one here, I'm like not familiar with this one. I'm not gonna lie. This one is Luxray. I'm loosely familiar. It's Luxray GL level X and Garchomp C level X, which are very strong slash solid level X's here, and level X's are kind of like Megas, or I guess, or something. And then you also have some interesting drop Pokemon. I talked about this briefly on my podcast with Uncommon Fossil. We talked about Uxie some, but again, tell me if you want to see more of these older cards, or if you have other ideas for new decks. But I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. I've been doing a lot of stuff recently, so I'm super busy, but I should have more time to do more stuff. I'm still doing daily content, but I have some really big plans. As I said, make sure you check out the community posts, because I do need some help with that. But I hope you enjoyed. As always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.